Welcome to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast with your host, Jody Betty.
Hi, and welcome to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast. My name's Jody, and I'm your host. And today's show is with Rachel Kaplan. Rachel, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. Just we got back from a long road trip there. It was ice today was crazy. When we got up, the whole car was
Yeah.
like one big sheet of ice. It was so crazy.
Yeah, it's getting really cold.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So, in terms of mental health, I have bipolar. I started having symptoms when I was 14, and it was a 10-year journey to getting better. Luckily, I eventually found the right help, got out of the right meds, and got the right therapy and everything, and now I'm doing really well. I'm 29 now.
Oh, good.
And I'm
Nice.
living a really awesome life. I really love it. I work with people with mental illness now.
Oh, what do you
Um,
do?
I actually work at the same place where I got better. I work at the Institute of Living.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
I work with people who have a couple different mental illnesses. It's a more a long term program than I went to, but it's at the same place.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
and I love it. And yes, I've been doing that for 2 years. And since I've started, I've never felt lonely because I socialize several hours a day, so that's nice. And they're really amazing people, and they work so hard, and they're such good people, even though they're dealing with mental illness. So they really inspire me, and it helps a lot with my internalized stigma.
Right, absolutely. It's so nice to be able to give back, especially when you're on your on your healing journey, right?
Yeah, I'm actually what I do, it's kind of a new field, started a few years ago. I'm a recovery support specialist. So what that means is that I have a mental illness, but I'm in recovery, and now I can work with people with mental illness.
I love that. Was it like
Yeah.
a degree or something, or how?
It's a certificate. It's
Okay,
in order to do it, you have to take a 3-month course. And in order to get into the course, you have to have a mental illness or substance abuse disorder and be in recovery.
right.
The training, it was just for the 3 months. It wasn't that hard, but it's more about your lived experience.
Oh, I love that. I wonder if
Mhm.
they have a place like that up in Canada.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know. I'm in the US. I'm not sure how common it is in the US, but it really was just kind of. I think it was around 10 years ago when it started. I think so.
oh, that's great because
Yeah.
I know I've been to a lot of therapists that don't have mental health issues, and I've been
Yeah.
to one therapist that do, and it's so much easier. Like
Yeah.
it's so much better to have lived experience, in my opinion, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Because for the longest time, you had a lot of people with mental health issues who got into recovery that would go into like becoming social workers or something, but they
Yeah,
didn't get any credit for the fact that they had gone through the lived experience. So the good thing with this is that if you have lived experience, you just take this 3-month course and then you can get a job with it. So it's a good deal. And yeah, I really love where I work. I wish it paid more, but
I hear you. I hear you. I'm gonna pause for 1 second to get my
Sure,
dogs out of my room. Hang on
no
one
problem.
second. Okay, we'll just cut that little bit out.
Mhm. Yeah.
My dogs are fighting over one bone. One's this big and one's 80
Uh,
pounds,
oh
and the
dear.
little one is so protective. She's like, my bone. So I was like, okay, nobody's having bones at all today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing program, honestly, and it's got to be helpful for you as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, when I got this job, it really helped with my internalized stigma, and I really love just socializing with people. And it's nice because, I'm not like I was never really popular like at all, but there it's kind of like I am, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, of course, right? It makes you feel
Yeah,
important and
yeah,
valued.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
which is it's so important for our healing recovery because sometimes it's so hard to, value yourself. And when you see so many other people, treating you with respect and how you should be treated and valuing you how you should be valued,
Hmm.
it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's really nice. And then the staff that works there is all really great. It's just very, understanding of people and, trying to lift people up. And it's, yeah, like my boss, she's been there for 27 years, and she's a psychologist, and she said that she's learned so much from it, and she's realized that people can achieve really great things. It's just you got to take it one step at a time.
Absolutely. I think that we overwhelm ourselves. Well, the world overwhelms us. The
Yeah.
pace of the world is overwhelming, you know?
Mhm.
And it's nice to be able to just slow down and have some time to kind of seek internally instead of externally, which it sounds like you've done.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a lot of good luck with it. When I actually did the course a couple years ago, and then they set me up with a paid internship, and I'm still friends with my boss from that. And I noticed you have the picture of the Buddha behind you, and my boss is actually Buddhist, and I'm part of this
Oh,
Buddhism club with her. Well, my former boss, yeah. So
yeah,
we,
yeah.
it's fun. I'm religiously I'm not Buddhist, but I like the philosophies.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's what drew me to it. I'm not religious.
yeah,
I didn't grow up with anything, but as soon as I went to see the Dalai Lama when he came to Toronto, and it was like the coolest experience ever. And I was just so moved by the amount of compassion and
yeah,
kindness. And I was like, okay, I got to read this guy's books. I got to figure out what's going on. And it's such a beautiful premise to me, you know, and it's not based off of anything that people can't do. Everyone can
yeah.
try to be kind, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I actually was thinking about writing a book about that, but I felt it would get a little too preachy. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I'm working on I've published 3 books. I could give you the links.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm working on my 4th book. This one is going to be about my recovery and my journey through mental health, and also this one is actually religious because religiously I'm a Jewish Christian, so I'm going to talk about my relation with God and use like different passages from the Bible and stuff.
Well, nice.
Yeah, so I've been enjoying writing it. About halfway done. I think I should get it out sometime this year.
Wow, that's
So
amazing. What
yeah,
are the
yeah.
other 3 books?
Oh, sure. So, I've written 2 novels. One of them is called Ruby's Secret to Happiness. My other novel is called God Only Knows. And then I've written a self help book, which, if you're going to get one of my books, I suggest you start with that one because that's my most popular so far. It's called How to Find Happiness in a Crazy World.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Very good at that.
Yeah, and it's my favorite so far, and seems to be everyone else's favorite. It's yeah, so I'm very blessed. I was able to publish through Amazon, which is free, so it's nice how that worked out.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm also working on a book and will also likely be publishing through Amazon.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure how the whole process goes, but people have told me it's not really as hard as I have made it out to be in my head.
Oh, it's really not. It's just you fill out a couple pages of information, and then you make the you use the pictures to make the cover, and then they review it before it goes up. But usually that's like less than 24 hours, and then you could do like a paperback, a hardcover, or
An
a Kindle version.
ebook.
Yeah, and
Nice.
it's
That's so
free,
cool.
so that's nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know it was totally free. I thought it would
yeah.
cost something.
Well, if you want to advertise, that costs money, but just publishing the book is
Oh,
yeah.
oh, that's awesome news. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I'm a big advocate for it because, like, I looked up before, like, what you have to do to get it published with a publishing company, and apparently you need to hire an agent, and there's no guarantee it's going to get published, but you still have to pay the agent. And then the royalties you get are like terrible. Like my dad's cousin, he's published at least like 8 or 9 books, and he's done it through a certain publishing company. I don't know the name, but he only gets 50 cents for each book that's sold. But meanwhile, my books I get over $6.
Oh, see, that's
Yeah,
so much better.
yeah, it really is because yeah, they give you a good deal with Amazon. Um,
I'm
it's
in 2 anthology books, like women's anthology books I've been published in, and dealing with the publisher was a nightmare. Like a
yeah.
nightmare. She was just something else. And then it
Yeah.
was like afterwards she was trying to like get me to sign with her and whatever else, and the small print at the bottom and the total and everything, it was like $5,000.
Oh
I
my
was like,
goodness.
are you kidding me? You might as well
Oh
write the
wow.
book for me for that much money.
Yeah, I know. Oh my god.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
feel like publishers, unless you're like already famous, they don't really care.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Stephen King, I am not.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But even
So
with him, probably when he started out, it was probably they weren't
yeah,
doing
probably the
much.
same
And
thing, eh?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How did you like when did you know that you were an author or like to write?
I started writing stories when I was 8. It was actually I had a dream, and then I wrote a story about it. So that was I would write like short stories, and
Nice.
I wanted to be an author for a long time, but because of my bipolar, I couldn't concentrate enough to because like sitting down and writing a whole book is like a lot of concentration. So that I would write down so many details about what I wanted to write, but I couldn't actually write the book. But then
Right.
it was after I got better back. Well, I got better back in 2019, but in 2021, I published my first book. And then in 2023, I published my other 2 books. And then I'm hoping to publish at least 1 book this year.
Nice,
Mhm.
nice. Aside from medication, what types of therapy did you do?
So I
Or
started
that worked for
therapy.
you?
Oh, yeah, sure. So the thing is with me is that therapy never really worked alone. Like I really needed the medical help for the pills, and also I got ECT, so that helped too. But
Okay,
I did have some good therapists. Like when I was in high school, I had 2 different therapists. And when I was living at home, and then when I went to school, I had and David, who's very nice. And they're both really great. I'm still in contact with them.
good.
But it's I mean, I was just I did better because I think because of their help, but it's still I really needed the meds to be right. I started
Yeah.
trying meds when I was 15, but it took like 9 years to get me on the right ones.
Oh my God, isn't that the truth, eh?
Yeah, yeah,
It's just like a roller coaster of here,
yeah,
try this. Oh, I'm
mhm,
going crazy.
yeah.
It's not working. It's not working. Off to the next one. Try this.
Yeah, yeah, it is because yeah, they affect different people differently,
Yeah,
and also it's possible. I think the reason why the ECT made it so I could get help for the pills. That's how I interpreted it, because it didn't help right away when I got the ECT, but then I tried antidepressant, it worked. So I think that had something to do with it. But unfortunately, you can't just start out with like getting ECT. Like the insurance is
yeah,
only going to pay for it if it's been like a lot of years.
yeah, yeah,
So I don't know. I mean, maybe if I had tried this medication earlier, would it work? Maybe I needed the ECT. I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it is absolutely a roller coaster because it's so much guesswork on the doctor's part,
yeah,
and it's tough because it's not like, oh, you have this condition, so take antibiotics for like 2 weeks or something. It's like, oh, well, maybe this will help or not, or all this stuff. And I had some that had side effects. I mean, definitely one of the ones I'm taking now does have the side effect, and that makes it hard for me to lose weight, which is annoying, but not too terrible. But I've had ones that would completely knock me out and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
I hear you. I've been on medication for depression and it was the same thing. It was like a 10-year process of just tossing me this
yeah,
and I went on Effexor and oh my God, like coming off that was probably like I don't know. I can compare it to, I couldn't compare it, but I would say it would be like coming off a hard street drug. It was
yeah.
absolutely awful. I was just like a mess for so long. And it took so long to get out of my system. I was just like, oh my God, like who prescribes this to anybody? You need
Yeah.
to try this first.
Oh dear. Yeah, I haven't tried that one. Yeah.
Yeah, don't. I recommend anyone who says it to go back to their doctor just because the getting off of it is just so bad
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah.
the benefits of it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, with the clients I've worked with, they've been on like so many different meds, so I've heard like different stories about different ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, it depends because, well, first of all, I don't have you might not have the same mental illness as other people, but even if you do, it can still affect you differently.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I got some weird side effects from some of the meds that I tried, like random leg swelling and like just
Yeah.
weird stuff. And finally found one about maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, that's actually
Mhm.
like a midpoint balance. Coming off, it's not too bad, and going on, it's not too bad. So I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done playing the bounce around with all the meds games and I'll stick with this and just continue healing myself. So eventually, like obviously I don't want to be on meds forever. If I don't have to be, I'd like to be able to, get off them eventually, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, just the one thing I would warn you about is my psychiatrist said if antidepressant or something is working for you and you get off of it and then you go back on, it doesn't work as well.
Yes.
What I've
Yeah.
heard, yeah, and that happened with one of my clients too.
But-
So, but I mean, not to, I can't really give
Yeah.
names,
Yeah. No, absolutely. I hear you. I hear you.
but that's just what they told me. Yeah, I've been very blessed with the medications I've been on. I've been in recovery for 5 years, and just very blessed that it worked out well. And then,
Now, what do they count as in recovery, so to speak? Do you have to like not have like a manic or a depressive episode?
it was defined by me. It's a self definition thing, but so it
Okay.
was December 11th, 2019. I had 6 months of just pure depression, but then one night I was taking a walk and I started to actually enjoy it, and then I was like, oh my god, you know. But the thing is, you also can't expect that the meds are going to do everything on their
Yes.
own, because
Yes.
I remember it was like on a Wednesday it started helping, and then Thursday I was all happy and excited, but then Friday I went back to feeling kind of miserable because I wasn't. It lifted the depression, but I was still, I didn't really have much going on in my life. But then, I worked at it, and after like 6 months, I became a happy person.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
thanks.
What do you think was like one of the things that helped you become happy?
Well, I go over a lot of it in my self help book, and gratitude's a big thing. Because well, a lot of people, they always say like, oh, money can't buy happiness, and like, oh, these material things will make you happy, but actually that it can. It's just you got to keep putting the work into it. You should just assume like, oh, like take my apartment. Like, I was really excited when I first got my apartment, and it's been over 5 years now, so I'm not as excited, but still I try to take some time to be like, oh, this is so nice, I have my own apartment. And then I get joy out of it because I'm, taking the time to put in the work for the gratitude.
Right.
So things can make you happy. It's just you shouldn't think that, oh, once I have this, it'll make me happy forever on its own. It's like, no, you gotta put in the work. So that's what I've been dealing with lately. Because for a while I wasn't exercising as much as I like, but then I finally realized I need to keep putting in the work. I can't just expect to be in the mood like all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's come out for me. Then another thing is focus on the little things, because most things in life are the little things.
Yes.
And yeah, so like just being able to sit in my apartment and not having a roommate around to bother me is very nice. And
Yeah.
or even like taking a walk outside. Like at work we have this beautiful campus, so I walk around and it's nice and safe, and it's just really nice. Sometimes I kick the acorns around and make a little game out of it. It's it's just it's nice, just these little things. Or even like what makes me really happy sometimes is just knowing that even if I'm feeling down, if I put on a song that I like, that makes me feel good. So,
Yeah. Music is
yeah.
fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. It's so important to me.
Me
That's
too.
also in the book I'm working on. Some of the chapters start off with a Christian song. So I've been really enjoying that. I'm really into Christian music and music in
Nice.
general. I like.
Yeah.
That's always been very, very important to me because of the bipolar, my brain is always overworking itself, and it hasn't been as bad these last couple of years, but still sometimes. But music allows me to just kind of zone out, so that's nice.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
I do it all the time.
yeah,
If I'm in like a low mood, I'll put on some crappy music, or if I feel like even sometimes like, you feel like you need to just cry and get it out. So I
yeah.
can put on like a sad song or something, and then I just like release all my tears, and then I feel like, oh, that was refreshing almost after it's all, instead of like holding everything in, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like when I'm feeling sad, I like to listen to this song "Even If" by Mercy Me. It's a Christian song, and then there's this other song "See You Again." That's not a Christian song. It's something to do with the Furious Seven or something.
Oh
But
my
it's
God,
yeah,
yes, I know what you're
yeah.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so those are,
those are,
when things aren't going my way, it's nice to listen to that. And it's, that's also, I'm always, like faith also. I'm not saying necessarily the faith is for everyone, because I know not everyone's, at least religious faith isn't for everyone. But for me, it's very important. Like I've been,
mhm.
reading the Bible more and stuff, and it's been very helpful. And so that's also another thing. Like we have a lot of different types of health. Like at work, we say there's physical health, mental health, spiritual health, social health, intellectual health, and I guess arguably there's more types. But even if it's just those five, they all affect each other. So you
Yes.
can't expect like, oh, I'm just going to focus on my mental health. But like, like walking is good for your physical health. That's also very good for your mental health. Or praying or reading the Bible if you're into that. That's good for your spiritual health, and that can help with other types. So it's we focus a lot at work on like kind of holistic medicine. Like
I love it.
they have a lot of events. The people like they have like drum circles and sound healing and yoga.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
yeah, it's because it's all about, and we even now have a program we've had for like a year and a half, called Food for Health, where if you're a client there and you're low income, then you can get 6 months of free food from them. That's all healthy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
We don't have anything like that here right now, and
Yeah.
it's like grocery prices are horrifying.
Yeah, the U.S. they're pretty high too. They got it pretty high. That was actually one of my coworkers who works at Food for Health. They were saying for a little while they didn't have eggs because they got it so expensive.
I know, right?
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
crazy. And that we were just out in the country driving by, and people were still in the middle of the winter. They still had their little boxes of eggs out where you can go and put your, money in one
Mhm.
basket and take your carton of eggs out of the basket.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So yeah, we focused a lot on different types of health, and it's been very helpful for people.
yeah, I bet it's so
Yeah,
important I think like the medical community has somehow detached the head from the body when
yeah,
they deal with things and not understanding how much trauma itself, like everyone that I know that has childhood trauma also has some sort of like chronic inflammatory disease or,
yeah,
something. And
yeah.
I think that, looking at it with an entirely holistic, spiritual, like putting all those components together is really what's going to lead to, the ultimate healing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean it's all connected. Like 90% of your serotonin is actually produced in your gut.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's very important to pay attention to that. Yeah, it's interesting because you think because we have like the way it works in our country, like we have specialists for like different parts of the body, but they
yeah.
don't realize they're all connected. So that's definitely a factor. Um,
I've done a lot of, I have some friends who are somatic trauma specialists, which is basically just bringing the mind back into the body and realizing like what's making your body feel uncomfortable and how to self comfort and self soothe that inner fear,
yeah,
and it's been like so helpful. It's anything from like different breathing techniques to just being walked through like a visual of anxiety. Right, because it's just like spinning in our head. But like when she slowed me down and then walked me through like visualizing anxiety as actually a thing, and then inviting it to sit at my table with me, there was less fear. And then I could actually realize after breaking it down that it wasn't really anxiety. It was just like my inner child screaming at that time, right?
yeah. I think is that like a Buddhist thing? I feel like I've heard that somewhere. Yeah.
It is also popular in like Buddhist cultures,
Uh huh.
but it's I think it's like a more recent therapy
Uh huh.
where they're finally like realizing, these therapists, that to treat the mind you have to treat the body, to treat the body you have to treat the
Mhm.
mind, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and being able to bring yourself down with simple thing like breath work, right? Like everyone thinks with breath work you have to blow out through your mouth, and you're actually stimulating the wrong part of your nervous system. So when you breathe in, the ideal thing to do would be breathe in for 3 or 4 through your nose, or
Mhm.
and then blow out through your nose for 6 or 7 until you get that
Interesting.
all
Yeah.
that out, and then I believe it settles your, I might get this wrong, but parasympathetic nervous system.
Cool. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
breathing exercises. Yeah. Yeah, we do that at work too. Sometimes we do also guided imagery and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
It can be
So,
very helpful, especially when you have a very busy mind, right? Just to be
yeah.
able to slow it down.
Yeah, I mean, it's something even before I was 14. I always, had a very busy mind. Like like my mom would take me out to the movies and I would just zone out during the movies. And afterwards she would be like, "Oh, what do you like about the movie?" And I would get so pissed because like, I just want to zone out. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I told her that recently.
Were your
But
parents,
yeah, what?
did you have family support during the whole
Yeah,
time?
I did. Yeah, very
Okay, good.
lucky. Yeah, my parents, I was always angry with them, but they did the best they could with
Yeah.
trying to help me. And then my grandparents were good because they would take my side, even though I wasn't totally making sense all the
Yeah,
time. But
yeah.
it was still nice. But yeah, I'm very very close to my grandparents and my parents and my sister. Like when I
Okay.
was at home, my sister, once a week we'd go out for dinner, so that was nice to do something nice.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, so family is definitely a big part of it. Like I see with some of the clients, like they come from bad families, and it really, makes it so much harder.
Yes,
Um,
it does.
yeah, and I'm very lucky. I've never been through trauma, at least that I can remember.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm very fortunate for that. So I don't like when people throw around the term like, "Oh, I was stuck in traffic and it was so traumatic" or something
Oh
like
my
that. Yeah,
God.
yeah. So like, I mean, I've been through tough times, but I'm not gonna say it was traumatic because it wasn't.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear
Yeah,
you.
but yeah, there were signs even before I was 14. And I guess also another thing that I put in my book is that you can't expect happiness just to happen to you. Like you got to put in the work, and a lot of it is internal. And if I could share a metaphor that I came up with recently, so let's say you have two people. And they're both being fed, and one of them just has a piece of bread, and they eat the bread, and that's it. And then the other person has like a 5 course meal in front of them, but because they have some type of disease, they can't they just throw up all the food. So who gets more nourishment? The person with just the piece of bread, because even though it's not much, they can actually take it in. So that's like, you could have a great life, but if your internals are not working well and you're not appreciative and all that stuff, it's not going to make a difference. So it's not that the externals don't matter, it's just they only matter if you have the internals working properly.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
Another big thing for me has been, I think from my trauma, I became very empathetic
Mhm.
and now focusing on like I have a diagram and it's got, like two circles, an outer circle of control. That's all the
Mhm.
shit that I cannot
Yeah.
control. Like
Yeah.
all the politics and all the crap
Yeah.
that's happening in the world. I still
Yeah.
absorb it a little bit, but not as much. And then my inner circle, which is the things that I can take action on to control my direct world. Because if I can control my direct world, then I can better approach and better deal with the people that I deal with, right?
Yeah,
Without
exactly.
absorbing all this negativity from the outside world.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's important. You got to make sure that the insides are working properly and that
Yeah.
you can be seeing things clearly and everything.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so actually now when I was younger, I used to always escape into like my imagination because I didn't like my life so much. But now I actually have the opposite problem. I like love my life, but sometimes my mind still goes into the imagination. And then I don't know if it's because I'm a writer or something, but I always have to find conflict in my imagination. So
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I'll think of something, it'll sound all nice, but then it's like, oh no, wait, what if this happens? And then I get stressed about it. They're like, what am I getting stressed about? It's not real.
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
that's my mind. I mean, it's improved a lot, but yeah, sometimes it still goes into the imagination. But I'm very blessed that I have a reality that I really love living in.
And you
Yeah,
also have that outlet too, right? Which
yeah,
is so important, right?
yeah.
And I see art on your walls. Did you draw that?
Actually, coloring. I
Oh,
got coloring
nice,
books.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed doing that while listening to music.
Yep, yep.
Um, yeah, yeah, art is really great. A lot of people at the program, we have a creative group slash exercise group on Mondays, and they like to do art then. And then even during other groups, they could do art if they want. It's very
Mm-hmm.
chill.
Oh,
I
that's
lead a
awesome.
couple group. I lead 6 groups right now, but they're not groups that we bill for because I'm not a licensed clinician. But they're just like fun groups we have, and it's really good for people because they socialize and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important to be around like-minded people, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
you don't
Yeah.
feel like you fit in because you're around everyone who, quote, is portraying a
Yeah.
great life. Um, And then when we can surround ourselves with people who are on a healing journey, it's beneficial for us because not only can we share our story, but we can learn so much from other people's stories, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then they're seeing that you're not alone, and also a lot of them like meet up together to do social things that they
Oh, that's
don't
so
figure out
good.
on their own. Yeah, it's very
Love
nice.
that.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah,
that.
and even if they just socialize while they're there, it's still, a good amount of socializing. Because
Yeah.
I mean, if you care about the other people, then you wanna hear, like, how things are going for them and
Yeah,
stuff.
for sure.
Yeah.
For
So it's
sure.
it's very nice. We have, 3 groups that are billable each day. So the first group is always assessment, so we make sure everyone gets to go and talk about how they're doing, and then the other groups change, based on the day, but, like, we have, like, positive psychology and narrative enhancement, cognitive therapy, and DBT, a lot of different things. So it's going very nicely. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying it.
Oh, that's great. It's wonderful to find a job that you actually have some passion for, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's nice because yeah, I feel like it's like my dream social life because I guess I like having like well, I mean, I don't always have deep conversations with people there, but I like it's like I'm helping them, so it serves a purpose. Or I love having deep conversations with people, and it's just like the usual kind of like hanging out kind of stuff. I'm just not so interested in.
Yeah,
So,
no, I hear you.
yeah,
I hear you. It's nice to be able to like not just sit with someone and like, oh, how's the weather and what did you have for dinner and stuff. Like I'm like that too. I just want to
yeah.
get straight to the how are you? No, no, tell me how you really are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's good, it's good for people to have more of these deep discussions, which I think is great about how podcasts have become so popular because it's definitely it's more uh like long discussions, and also it's good because you can choose more what you want it with advertisements if you do advertisements because I've realized part of the problem with like the pharmaceutical companies is they advertise so much on different shows that then the new shows can't say anything bad about them.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'm not getting too political, but
No, 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 no.
that's
That's good.
I mean,
That's
given
good.
that's an American thing, I don't think they could advertise directly to the consumer in other countries. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, that's and same with spaces too. Like I host a
mhm,
space on Monday night, and it's so nice to be able to interactively. It
mhm,
would be nicer if it was a Zoom thing almost where
yeah,
you can actually see everybody, but since people sometimes don't want to be seen, it's
mhm,
nice to hear voices instead of just see words on a text. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah,
You can hear the emotion, you can feel people's aura and their vibration when you're talking to them, as where a text has no tone. So basically,
yeah,
the tone of the text is whatever mood you're in, because that's what you're going to read into it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting with the new technology. Like sometimes at work, sometimes we talk about AI, and some people are look. I mean, I'm a very positive person, so I'm looking forward to it, honestly. But a lot of people are nervous about it. But I like to say about myself that I'm a happy cynic. That like I'm really happy, but I have a little cynicism in me, and I don't want
Yeah.
to lose that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, of course. I think that keeps a good balance, right? Is
Yeah.
like nobody's 100% happy and anyone who is lying.
Or like on serious drugs or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, they're just presenting, they're wearing a mask and they're just making it seem like the perfect Instagram life, you know?
Yeah, like I was looking at Instagram the other day and I saw this girl I went to college with, and apparently now I hadn't heard from her in years, and apparently now she's married, and the picture's like her and her husband and their 2 kids. And it didn't bother me at all. And the reason, I was like, why, it's because I don't want that, but I
Yeah.
have an amazing life, and it's more about enjoying the little things. It's not so much the big things that society says like you need, but everyone has to find their own path to happiness. And also, I mean, I also know, a lot, I don't think I could handle having babies like up in the middle of the night all the time.
I hear you, man. I'm
Yeah.
old now. I need my sleep. I don't have time. I have puppies. I don't know. I have a 80-pound
Yeah.
puppy. Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah. But yeah, it shouldn't be like, oh, like when people, it shouldn't matter if people are jealous of your life or something. It's about like just you being happy with your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So important to be authentic nowadays because there's so
Mhm.
much fake.
Yeah, exactly. exactly. I mean, that's like, I think social media can be used for good. Like, I've been enjoying using X and use it in positive ways, but unfortunately, a lot of people, use it to like make other people think your life's so great when it's really not. Like, I had
Hmm.
a friend who said she had a friend who like will post pictures of her family and be like, "Oh, we're having a great time on this trip," but it turns out she wasn't even there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was just a picture of family center, and she wasn't there.
With
And
the
she'll be like,
background. I'm just going to change my background to
yeah.
Bermuda right now.
And like she's like, "Oh, I was behind the camera." And I was like, "No, you weren't."
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy,
So
eh?
that's like someone who's clearly not happy with their life, that they have
Yeah,
to live in this fantasy world. And if
yeah.
everyone else is jealous, then maybe they'll feel better, but it's not. And like you said, like with the Dalai Lama, like it's so much about, kindness, even if, that's a big thing in Buddhist philosophy, and how it's, also I read, I don't know if this happened when you went to an event, but I read when the Dalai Lama first came to America, like decades ago, they asked him about self-hatred. He didn't know what that was.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
But
that's a man who's literally was ripped out of his country by,
yeah.
at 14 years old,
Yeah.
um, basically facing a war, and watch his country be
Yeah.
destroyed,
Yeah.
and still has no hatred in him. He is just full of compassion. There's a fantastic Netflix show. It's also a book. It's
Oh.
called Joy, and it's a story about his friendship with Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who's passed
Oh,
away. But it is so, like, if it is on your Netflix still, you got to watch it. It's so fantastic, and it's so funny because they're both little old men, and they giggle the whole time. Like, they make fun of each other, they tell little jokes, and then like
yeah.
compassionately hold each other's hand, and it's so beautiful. It was such a
Yeah.
beautiful thing to watch. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I think I saw one video with him and Desmond Tutu. Yeah, I don't even know
yeah,
much about Desmond Tutu, but I like the Dalai Lama. Even though actually, the type of Buddhism that we do at the Buddhist group that I'm a part of is actually a type of Japanese Buddhism. So it's
okay,
not
yeah,
exactly that, but they still really like him and stuff. And they
yeah.
they say a lot of people think he's like the Pope of Buddhism, but it's not it at all.
Yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
he's so humble. Like when he was in Toronto, he was so cute. We were right in the front row, and the lights were sitting like right above his head, right to light up the stage. And he was
Uh,
like, "Hold on a minute, I'm getting very hot." And then he's like, "Excuse me." And then he just like literally grabbed his robe, pulled it over his head, took off his white t-shirt, giggled, put his robe back on. He's like, "Okay, that's much better. Thank you."
yeah.
So he's just so down to earth and just such a like normal person.
Yeah.
Like just not even normal, but just so extremely
Heavy.
like beautiful and in
Yeah.
depth and compassionate. And it was just such a wonderful connection.
Yeah, that was actually one thing we were discussing at the Buddhist group. There was another Buddhist monk. He was imprisoned by the Chinese for 20 years, and then eventually he got to go and live with the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama asked him, "Was he ever scared during those 20 years?" And he said the only time he was scared was when he was afraid he would lose compassion for his jailers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
And
that's
that's so crazy, right? Like compared to like the North American
yeah,
way of thinking and or attitude towards things,
yeah,
right? That's so crazy.
yeah, yeah. It's I mean, that's their Buddhist philosophies were really tested during those times.
Yes.
Usually you
Yeah.
don't get to test them that much, but I guess they did, and it definitely paid off. And
Yes.
it's
Absolutely.
just a lot of times, like, people. I think a lot of people think that like if you forgive someone else, that means it's saying it's okay what they did, but really it's more for yourself, and it's just putting passion out to the world and stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, I really like those philosophies.
Yeah.
And but anything can be corrupted. Like apparently there's this one Buddhist group, like my friend told me somewhere in our state, that like says that if you like do what Buddhism says, you'll like get a car or something. It's
Wow.
like that's totally
There's
against the
extremes to
paragraph,
everything,
but
right?
all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, but then there's also like I think I mean a lot of people. Yeah, I was born Jewish, but I became a Christian by choice, and I realized that it has been corrupted a lot, and I think it gets bad reputation because of that. Because like it's all about like you hear so much with the prosperity gospel and stuff. And what that is that it's saying, like, if you do what, God wants you to, that'll make good things happen in your life. But the whole point behind it is that you're not supposed to focus on the pleasures of the flesh, and it's not supposed to be about just ordering God around. Like, it's supposed to be learning from God and, helping people and all this stuff and being humble. And so anything can be corrupted,
Yes.
yeah. So it's, sometimes, when I'm talking to like my family about it, they have a negative view of Christianity. I can see why, because it's like, a lot of corruption and stuff, but I try to,
Focus on the good things.
Yeah, exactly. Focus on what it was originally about and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, anything can be corrupted, but like also like social media, like you hear all the time of how social media is destroying things, but like if we could all, use social media to be kind to each other and reach out to people. Like I've met so many people through the mental health and Christian faith community. That's what I usually stick to, who have either mental illnesses or physical illnesses or both. And, we form a connection, and it's very nice. And those are the people that I really look up to, who are going through really tough times and, are still really great people and work so hard. Because I found, humans, when we have to work hard, we will work really hard. It's when things get too easy and then we get so
that we just become lazy and just accept everything for how it is. And a lot of people I find right now are in a hoard mentality. Like, if my neighbor thinks that, I must have to think like that too. And then nobody can think for themselves anymore. So now it's time to kind of like go back to, okay, wait a second. We have to be able to like critically think for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, or like if your neighbor has something, you have to want it too.
Yeah,
like
keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah, and it's that's definitely a big problem in America too.
Yeah.
I also write about that in my book, of how like the reason why, in the self-help field, you read about like gratitude a lot, but I think the reason why they have to keep saying it is because we have a very anti-gratitude culture, because it's always like, oh, you got to buy this to be happy. Oh, well, get this, and it's never like, oh, put in the work to appreciating things. So so that's the one of the first chapters of my book, because I think gratitude is so essential, because you really gotta, instead of, I mean, obviously, in order to be happy, you need at least a few joyful things in your life, but at that point, it's really more about how much joy you get out of each thing. So like there are people I know who have like everything and are so miserable. And then there's people who have like hardly anything but are so happy. And it's very much how much joy you get out of things. And gratitude, I think, plays a big part in that. And also appreciating the little things. And also realizing that that boredom can be a beautiful thing, because it's kind of nice when things are just going fine and aren't that interesting. Because like war is very interesting, like fighting's very interesting. So appreciating the boring things is
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. So glad I got to talk to you finally.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad to have you. Oh, of course. I'm glad to have you on. And if you send me your book links, we'll put them up so everyone can have a look at them now that they know what they're about. And I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you sharing your story with us. It's it's definitely going to make a difference with someone's life, because
I love sharing my
story does.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you for listening to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast with your host, Jody Betty. If you enjoyed today's show, please give it a like, and don't forget to smash that subscribe button. And if you appreciate the work I do, why not buy me a coffee? Details in the show notes. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Dorian Kent and produced by Jody Betty and Dorian Kent. This has been a Raw and Open production.